Second question, Eric. The so-called Buffett rule asks for income tax for high earners. However, he does not include himself in exploring similar rules for inheritance taxes by limiting the use of tax-free endowments that he or his friends control. Would you support legislation that will enable family farms and ranches to be passed on to succeeding generations rather than being split for inheritance taxes?
I seriously doubt I'm going to need all 2 minutes for this. I was actually hoping to hear the Republicans first because the estate tax is, after all, a Republican concept, supported by Lincoln, Roosevelt, Eisenhower, and others. The reality of the situation is there aren't that many family farms anymore. The vast majority of our agriculture nationwide is agribusiness. It's huge corporate-owned farms. And if we did exempt, we should really let Ron deal with this first too, because he's an accountant and he knows about the estate tax. But you could set up things to, under current law, to keep the farms intact. But what would be more important is, yes, I would support legislation regarding family farms, simply because there'd be a minimal tax impact. Why not?
Thank you. Ronald?
I'm sorry, I also missed that Jeff Taylor's not here tonight with us. I wish he was. Okay. On this question, this is actually a very simple question for me. As I said, I've been in tax for over 30 years. And I earlier mentioned that we're going to have a very chaotic time on December 31st when both the tax laws expire and at the same time we have a 15% cut in spending. What's going to happen is next year we're going to have a tremendous revision of our tax system. And if you go to my website, you'll see at both places, both at smartvoter.org as well as carmelron.com, you'll see that this question is a non-issue. And it's a non-issue because next year when the tax system gets revised, we are not going to have an estate tax. We are not going to have an estate tax, and we're not going to have a lot of other taxes as well as tax deductions that are currently on the books. I primarily agree and have studied the Simpson-Bowles report. That's the report where we had both Republicans, Democrats, and independents put together by the president. They made their recommendations to save Medicare, Medicaid, as well as Social Security, resolve the problems with the tax system, resolve the problems with the deficit, and resolve the problems with our debt. And after they came out with a report, their recommendations were put aside because the politicians knew that if they went forward with that recommendation, they wouldn't get rehired. Well, I'm in agreement with the Simpson-Bowles Commission, and part of the Simpson-Bowles Commission on taxes basically will eliminate estate taxes. From a state level, we eliminated the state tax in 1982. We, the people, voted to knock the inheritance tax out, and we did in 1982. So it's just the federal that we have to contend with at this point. And I truly believe if you read the information at both of my websites, you'll see this is going away. And I believe that we'll also have a greater import of manufacturing jobs. They're going to come back to the USA. Thank you.
Mike?
I don't have that much trust in our government. No taxes go away. They'll just rename them. I'm sorry. You think they're going to cut what they're taking from us? No, not until you get responsible individuals up there who will fight for our rights. Look, I'm not a politician, but I'm the only one up here, the only candidate in this race, and that includes the incumbent, that has put out a plan that helps all of us. It's called a simplified revenue plan. Takes care of this problem with inheritance tax. This is wrong. People work all their lives, you know, and then they lose it because they have to pay money to the government for what they inherit. It's the same thing with property taxes. We have to start getting really serious. My plan shows how to bring in the same amount of money to the government by putting more money in all of our pockets. It's nice to talk, but you have to have solutions. And we need people that have solutions to go up into the federal government and advocate for those solutions and fight for the American people and make it right for us. Because right now, there is no one up there looking out for our interests. And To think that they're going to take away taxes, I'm sorry, that is just a dream. Everything we see coming down the line from the state government, the federal government, is more and more takings from us, and we get less for it. So no one should lose the family farm. No one should lose the family house, and no one should lose the family business just because the parents died and willed it to the children. That's absolutely unconscionable, and it is against our American values and everything that we've been brought up to believe in. But we don't have people that believe in our country are the people that make our country anymore in Washington. And that's why I'm asking for your support to get me up there and to fight for your rights. Thank you.
Art?
Well, what we need is a new system. We need the system that was in the Constitution and that Alexander Hamilton brought into being when he was the first Treasurer of the United States. Since that time, we've gone off the track by letting these bankers decide what they're going to put their so-called money in. It's only pieces of paper that they were able to print by themselves with the Federal Reserve System. And what we did back a number of years ago, after we put in Glass-Steagall with President Roosevelt, where we put we had a situation where we had the credit system of Hamilton, and we put the credit of the country into building up the TVA in the southeastern part of the United States, which was a wonder of the world at that time. People came from all over the world to see what we had done. And if we hadn't had the TVA then and put our credit of the nation into that TVA system, why we wouldn't have been able to win World War II, because we wouldn't have had the electrical capacity to do so. And today we are faced with a situation where we need to change the entire Federal Reserve System, and we have to have Glass-Steagall, which will separate the local banks, as I said, from the Wall Street banks so that we don't have to pay for their mistakes, and we can put the credit of the country into building something like NWAPA, the North American Water and Power Alliance, which would turn the water that's going into the Bering Sea now and not being used, turn it southward into the California, and we'd have all of the necessary water that we needed, as would other neighboring states. And NWAPA is a big thing, in my estimation, that has to be done, and it can be done, but it won't be done unless we change what we're doing now, which is going along with letting Wall Street take our money and gamble with it.